Hello and welcome. I bought my 2021 Polygon Siskiu D5 in December of 2020 from Bikes Online. The full suspension Siskiu is available in 3 group levels: the base D5, the better equipped D6, and the much better equipped D7. I chose the D5 not for its lower price, but because of the 3, I liked the dark red and ivory color set with the yellow and orange trim the best. I really do think this is a great looking bike in these colors, even if it was less well equipped than its siblings. So yeah, I knew from the onset that there would be upgrades in store for this bike. And to be clear, for $1,100 at the time, the D5 was actually decently equipped. I'm still running the stock Shimano hydraulic brakes, although I will bleed them before my first ride this spring, just on basic principle. This was my first bike, by the way, with hydraulics, and wow, was that eye-opening. That's why I switched all my others over. The rotors and pads front and rear are still in good shape, so if it ain't broke, I'm not fixing it. I'm also still running the stock 27.5-inch wheels and house brand Entity Spiderbait tires, which have plenty of tread left. In fact, these Entity tires are surprisingly good. With all that said, other than saving the best for last, here are the upgrades that I have made in no particular order. Number 5, air fork. While the D5's stock XCM fork was adequate, and the manual lockout was certainly useful, it wasn't on par with the air forks available on the D6 and D7. So after shopping around a bit and missing out several times on RockShox's Judy Silver TK restock notices, I ended up going with a slightly more expensive SR Suntour Epixon 120mm air fork. As it turned out, I'm glad I did. As pleased as I am with the Judy Silver TK on my Rockhopper, I really do like the remote lockout feature on the Epixon. It's pretty handy to be able to operate the lockout on the fly without either stopping or bending over the front and feeling like I'm risking my teeth while in motion. The Epixon weighs a bit less than the XCM, but more importantly, it is infinitely tunable with the air pressure and the rebound adjuster. And it has a very responsive but controlled feel on the trail, and I really like that. Number 4, air shock. The stock Radon air shock was a single chamber unit with a lockout but no rebound adjustment. So I replaced it with a D&M air shock, which I also used on my Mongoose XR Pro with great success. The D&M is a dual chamber unit with both lockout and rebound adjustment. Once installed and with the sag set, this shock is like night and day compared to the stock one. Number 3, 1x10 group set. The stock drivetrain was a 36 to 22 tooth Shimano Altus 2x with a Shimano 9-speed 11 to 36 tooth cassette. I opted for a 1x setup using a JG Bike Holotech style crankset, to which I added a 32 tooth snail narrow wide chainring that I already owned. The rest of the drivetrain is a curated JG Bike kit. I went with that curated route since it eliminated me having to guess if the components were compatible. Speaking of components, the rear derailleur and shifter are both Shimano Deore 10-speed. The cassette is a Sunrace 10-speed with an 11 to 42 tooth range, and the chain is KMC. And I gotta say, this setup has been flawless in its performance, and I am very happy with it. Number 2, riser handlebar. From April until the end of June 2021, I had chronic and severe back pain, ultimately fixed by a chiropractor. She knew how much I missed riding, so on her advice, I replaced the stock, relatively flat handlebar with a Fun, F-U-N-N, 785mm bar, while keeping the stock 45mm stem. The Fun bar has 30mm of rise. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but let me tell you, it made a huge difference. It gives me a much more upright riding position, which takes a lot of strain off of my back. It actually made riding a pleasure again. So, sometimes a small change can have a big impact. Also, I added a set of Uri lock-on grips, my current favorites. Number 1, dropper post. As was the case with my Rockhopper, now we come to the upgrade that I feel gave me the most bang for the buck. A dropper seat post. The D5 came with a conventional rigid seat post, whereas the D6 and the D7 both came with droppers. Now, I rode that for about 2 months before I got a Trans-X dropper post. And that was actually the first upgrade I made. Under the best circumstances, with a rigid seat post, you have to run the seat height in a compromised position or stop and adjust it manually every time you turn around. Seriously, if your bike lacks a dropper post, I highly recommend that you get one. You might think that I wasn't happy with the D5 due to all these changes. Trust me, nothing could be further from the truth. I am well and truly pleased with this bike. And as I said earlier, to get the color set that I wanted, I knew I'd be going the upgrade route. And since I like to work on bikes anyway, that wasn't really so much of a hardship. Feel free to drop me a line in the comments if you have any questions. Below left is a link to the Siskiu D5's playlist. Below right is a link to another video that I think you'll enjoy. And as always, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate that. Goodbye and have a great day.